just off its spot makes this slightly more difficult, but he's played it perfectly. Shouldn't have any problem now.
Almost played that safe in that he knew that anywhere down the table he's got something rather than staying down amongst the reds. He's got any kind of a angle off straight on this. It shouldn't be too difficult to get down. And a lot of reds to choose from as well.
I think that's one of those shots, Neil, isn't it, where it's great to play into an area. That's what he was doing there, just playing into an area. Knows that if he gets a thicker kiss, he's on yellow or blue. If he gets a thin kiss, he's got green or brown. And you can't always guarantee getting pinpoint position. Sometimes you've just got to play in areas.
$19. 20. Yeah, sure.
No, it seemed to jump. So the cue ball is lost. Just played to stun him behind 2 or 3 reds again. Played into an area, but I think this jumped a bit. Yeah, and he couldn't really spot it there. It didn't sound right. Has to play a good shot to recover the break.
27.
Now he's 39 in front and has got the match under control at the minute. Is it worth the risk of playing a pot from under the cushion? This certainly could cost him the frame if he misses it. Once again, a lot of applause coming from the other side of the screen. Obviously the end of a frame over there, so this makes concentration a little bit more difficult. Oh, that's a fabulous recovery.
28.
And the fact that the brown's off its spot makes this blue a lot easier than it would have been if the brown's on its spot. It's a difficult shot. Got a big target now to come through the baulk colours. This was an excellent shot. That was tough, Neil, wasn't it? You don't like those across the nap, do you? Near the cushion.
No, and he has to roll them. That's the worst part. If he could have played it with any pace, with his hand on the table, would have been easier.
I mentioned the brown being off its spot there, and it was a good job it was. He went over the brown spot twice.
33. $34.
Just slightly lost the cue ball there. May have to play the cannon now into the red and pink. It's finished a lot thinner on the black than he wanted. This is just to slow the cue ball down. Obviously a very decent position whatever cannon he gets. This is the last chance that Dave Gilbert has in this frame, because if that was missable, that black played it nicely.
$41.
He missed the pink there. Of course, he'd have been on the other red, which is over as we look on the left. So he had, again, options there to him.
42.
But he created this break very well with one of the best safety shots I've seen in this championship. And David Gilbert tried to play the glance, hit the reds too thin, cue ball travelled up and down, and that's it. That's all he's done wrong. Sometimes
49.
you know you're in a match when you can work out your mistakes, and they're fairly small ones in the context of a match. Other times, you miss 4 easy balls in a frame. But it's not the case this time for David Gilbert. He'll definitely
55.
trail going into the last session, but it's a question of by how many.
56. $63. $64.
Well, Neil's already had a break of 131, and that was the
71.
final frame of yesterday's session. And he made 3 in
72.
successive frames of his opening match.
And that's already the 4th 70 on the trot. 1 from Dave Gilbert and 3 from Neil Robertson in the last 4 frames. So the standard is really, really high.
77.
Well, it had to be a
79.
springy bounce, didn't it? It's a phrase that comes up nowadays at snooker. The ball flies from cushions.
Yeah, it always seems to be when they're playing with side. Been played with a little bit of side there to straighten the angle up, and it seemed to take off.
Well, he's going to play a good shot now.
82.
Can go on and make a century, but from brown to blue, not an easy shot. Oh, well, no century, but Neil Robertson won't be too
82
concerned
over.
about that. Starting to pile it on now, and he's taken a 9-5 lead over David Gilbert.
He was a little bit disappointed with himself. Obviously, would have liked to have made his 2nd century of the match there. You saw him shake his head as he sat down, a little bit despondent to what he thinks happening with his top cushion. But I'd be pretty pleased the way he's come out of this session. He looked for all money that Dave Gilbert was starting to get back into the match with a chance of 3-1 at the interval.
Yeah, I mean, if he can win the next 2 frames and lead 11-5, we do occasionally see that lead eroded, but very rarely. In fact, one that springs to mind is Neil Robertson coming back himself from that far behind against Martin Gould a couple of years ago, because that's the year he won the world title. 11-5 down, first of 13 it was, and he checked out of his hotel. That's how confident he was that he was going to win. Came back and beat Martin Gould, won the world title. One of the great turnarounds, that was.
What's the biggest deficit you've come back from, Neil? Can you remember at the Crucible?
Well, not very many. Don't know.
You must have been behind in a couple of your victories, I would have thought.
I think I was behind against you once and didn't beat
Did you? Why would you mention that?
Well, just that's the first one that sprung to mind. I think he was 11-8 up, and
How did you manage that? Did I fall over?
I don't know how I got so far behind.
I mean, it's a horrible place to sit. I mean, Dave Gilbert's just taking a comfort break. I mean, and whenever you're kind of 11-5 behind us and then going into a last session, sometimes you just find it so difficult. And that's what we've been talking about, temperament, so many times today. Neil Robertson is blessed with a very good one.
Frame 15. David Gilbert to break.
So Neil mentioned that Dave Gilbert somehow has to try and win the last 2 frames to stay within 2. It's a tough task the way Robertson's playing. Not impossible though, and an excellent break-off.
This is the only way he could stick that red over the middle. Good shot to hold. We're playing into the pack of one cushion. I think he can get there from the brown, but it's going to take some force on the cue ball. This has got to be hit very hard. And that's the problem. You play at that speed and it really tests your cue action.
David Gilbert, 1.
He's saying sorry to Neil for getting out, but I think Neil will be relieved he only left 1 there. He won't mind not being on anything easy.
Yes, going through one of those spells now, Dave, where he's starting to doubt himself when he shouldn't do. He has played really well in this match, and like we were just saying, if you can win the last 2 frames of this session and only trail by 2 frames going into tonight's last session, he's still well in the match. Never get too down on yourself here at the Crucible. And there you can see this red.
One. Yeah, sure. 6.
Clearly, he can get on this red. He's really got to dig into it to just brush off the pack, probably to get out the blue or bought colour. Well, he managed to avoid the pack. He's blessed with an amazing amount of cue power, Dave.
7.
David is. Did really well to get into that without just flicking off the pack. He came very close to the pack. Just keep an eye on the white here. Just missed that top red by an absolute fraction. Where the finish, he'd probably like to have caught the red. Brought another couple of reds into play. So the red that's loose to the right of the black spot, that's the one he's trying to get on. Oh, I don't know what he's played here. But he's still on it. Amazing. And absolutely perfect to just roll it in and get on the black.
11.
It's amazing when you get a bit of fortune at this game.
Well, that little nudge on the pink means he can't do anything with this except run through. And that red on the left of the pack is potable. He could have played it the shot before, actually, when he played. Well, he got on that red into the opposite corner. There isn't anything else he can do unless he can dig out a plant from somewhere. He's looking at one, actually. Well, I think the plant is on if he can hit the first red full on, but he can't, so I don't think that will go. That will just slide off in, I think, the direction of the bottom cushion. Looking at the bulk colour, obviously doesn't fancy running the blue in and taking that red on the edge of the pack. Looks the obvious shot.
17. David Gilbert, 17.
Didn't get anywhere near the pot. I think he had his mind on the cue ball and trying to slide it off the pack. And I think he could only just get to the potting angle as well. Could have done better there.
Just seeing the colour drain out of him a little bit, Neil, at the moment, and he's just getting a little bit upset with himself. And he's got, I mean, Neil Robertson is playing excellent snooker, and he's still won 9. You know, it's only 9-5. Because he's kind of been moaning his luck there. I mean, just stay with it, Dave. You've still got a chance in this game, but you've got to win these last 2 frames. Obviously a massive match for him, isn't it, this? First time he's got to this last 16 stage with this World Championship.
Yes, he's played a lot of snooker to get here. Obviously the seeded players, the likes of Neil Robertson, come straight in at the Crucible, but David Gilbert had to win 4 matches just to qualify. Had a few close ones there along the way. So yet another match, and don't forget the qualifiers were only a week before this tournament, so he's well and truly in practice, but this is by far the biggest test he's faced so far.
Do you think that's the reason that some of the top seeds have gone out? The fact that there's been only a week's play deal? I think that's probably one of the reasons, don't you?
Yeah, JV and myself were making that point the other day. You know, the qualifiers have come here with the momentum intact, whereas in previous years the qualifiers might have been 4 weeks or 8 weeks before the tournament, and they've lost what they got out of it in that time. Under the new regime, it has to be that way because the rankings are updated so much, so you don't know who's in the qualifiers necessarily, or certain players, when they're revised, would have been in the top 16, so you have to have the qualifiers as late as possible. There certainly were in that first round a number of shocks. You don't get so many now after one round and the longer matches.
12. It's
going to be tough to continue that run of very, very high breaks we had in the last 4 frames, where a 70 above was scored. Unless he wants to risk playing for the black off this red, it's going to be tough to score. And I think, in fairness, where the red is nearest
18.
the pocket, he can risk playing for the black here. Now, if the black goes in, you would expect him to win the frame at this visit, but... And we know that
19.
they actually roll towards this left-hand jaw as the camera will look at. So he's going to have to play this high. We've had quite a few shots on this in this particular pocket. So if he plays for the far jaw, I think this will go in without a problem because it will dive in. There we are. And now he can win the frame at this visit.
26.
Well, I suppose you'd rather them drop in from there than pull out. But there's definitely a sign that they do
27.
hug the cushion. You'd be slightly surprised if he didn't win the frame from here, that the form he's been in, and all the sessions I've seen, as the frames have developed, he's played better and better, he's got stronger. That was notable against Ken Doherty when he had those 3 centuries to finish the session. Finished yesterday with
32.
a 1-3-1 break, so he gets stronger and stronger. It's always a good sign.
33.
I know his odds were reduced to, I think, 4-1 to win this World Championship, but at this moment in time, I think 4-1's too big. I just think he's playing great.
40.
He was suggesting that it's possible over 17 days he could burn himself out because he's playing so well so early, Neil.
41.
That's a slight possibility, I suppose.
I think players have done that before. Played so well at the start that kind of played all their snooker come the second week. Obviously he's not
48.
won this match yet, but should he go on and do so, his next round won't be easy. despite all the shocks.
49.
You've got two great players in that Ronnie O'Sullivan and Mark Williams is the match near him in the draw. So it could be Robertson O'Sullivan, I suppose. That will be a tremendous
56.
match in the quarterfinals, and that's perhaps why the sponsors Betfred.com have made him a reasonably big price. The draw's not necessarily kind to him, but it's not kind to whoever he might be playing, because he looks great.
57. $63.
Well, we suggested when he came to the table he couldn't win the frame at this visit where the pink and black was. Well,
70.
he quickly got the black in play and has made another 70. So that's 5 frames on the trot where we've had a 70 or above. This Crucible Theatre crowd have been treated some excellent snooker in this session. And Dave's played his part, make no mistake.
71.
It's amazing to think he led 3-1 and he's now facing a 10-6 deficit. 10-5 deficit, I should say.
78.
It's been a barrage of breaks from Neil Robertson.
80. $83. $87.
Well, his 1-3-1 was quite
92.
simply a superb break. If he manages to get a century from where these balls were at the start, this would be up there with them. And he needs pink and black to do that. We'll know before he does from that camera angle whether this was in. And it isn't. What a shame. Had two chances in the last 2 frames to make centuries. Broke down right at the final moment. But Neil Robertson is steamrolling him now. He looks very, very good indeed. And he goes 10-5 in front. Neil, what can we say to kind of give him some confidence here, Dave Gilbert? Because he is playing okay. It's just that Robertson's just not missing anything.
I suppose you can always